here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I am David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the Norwegian keyboard player, vocalist and songwriter. It's the one and only Casino Steel, or Kaz to his friends. To find out more about life, love, poetry and all that other groovy stuff, has been in a lot of musical combos and projects, including the Hollywood Brats, but has worked with people like Ian Hunter, Mick, Ronson and various other people in the world of country as well. So anyway, you'll find out more about that and much more. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Kaz, it's over to you.
Well, you know, like I grew up with the Rolling Stones.
Right.
And we started, I left for England when I was 18 in 1970.
Right, so that was it.
Yeah, and in 72 we started the Hollywood Brats.
That was the beginning of the band, actually. And Did you, on those kind of, that earlier, you know, your early teen period, did you sort of, did you have any kind of brothers or sisters or parents who gave you musical direction or influences in this point?
No. Well, my elder brother, he was a sailor. So he, when I was about 8 or 9 or 10 years old, he had the single records, you know, taken from Germany and the States. So the first time I heard Jerry Lee Lewis, I was, you know, that was, to me, changed my life.
Yes, that would have been, I know with certain people like, I think they were just a bit older than you. They were born 1947. There was David Bowie and Lemmy who were born in the same year. And whenever they were asked about their musical kind of influences, they always said, you know, it was Little Richard, then it was kind of Elvis, and then it was Eddie Cochran, and Buddy Holly and people like that. So that had a massive influence. And then, but then during that teen period where you'd seen obviously the Rolling Stones, did you sort of develop an interest in that kind of 60s counterculture that happened, you know, from sort of 63, 64 to the psychedelic world of 67, 68?
Yeah, well, you know, like everyone was in a band in those days, you know. Everyone I knew who was in a band. So we had a band as well, and we played a lot of English stuff, you know, because we were always into English rock and roll.
Right.
Not so much American, but definitely British.
Yes. And what was your first gig you went to?
Oh, at school. Oh, to concert. I saw him in 1964 or 65. When I was 12, 13, I saw Small Faces in my hometown in Trondheim, Norway. And I saw Swing Blue Jeans, Zombies, The Hollies.
You did a lot, actually. And did you have a kind of, you know, 67, the Summer of Love, and obviously there was this event at the Ali Pali in London, the 14-hour Technicolor Dream, and in San Francisco they had the Gathering of the Tribes in January at the San Francisco Golden Gate Park. Was that kind of summer? Did you sort of have an equivalent in Norway of the Summer of Love? Did you sort of feel?
Everyone know that, but I didn't. I was never into hippies.
No.
I liked rock and roll.
So when did you start playing an instrument?
When I heard Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee was the man. And did you sort of get lessons at school and sort of have
No.
You just started playing?
Yeah.
Yes. And then when you got to so when you got to 16, like in this country in the 60s, most people would have left school probably with hardly any qualifications. A few people, you know, were a bit more kind of tuned in and possibly went on to A levels and then university. What happened when you got to 16? That would have been 1968, if I'm doing my maths at this point. Were you still at school at this point?
No, well, I left school, you know, I only had the first seven years at school. And then, you know, I did paper rounds. And I was my intention was all the time to go to England.
Right.
So as soon as when I was 17, I moved to England.
Right. And where did you sort of, I mean, this is pre-internet, obviously, but where did you sort of head for from Norway to the UK?
Well, I went on holidays with a friend of mine to London I think it may have been one of the earliest Reading festivals. And I stayed in Paddington in London. And when I was 17, I went back there.
Right.
Same place.
And did you just take a rucksack and head to the UK at this point?
Yeah, I took the boat to Newcastle and a train from Newcastle down to London.
God, that's such an amazing experience. So what then happens during that sort of early period in sort of London?
Well, it was good for me because Norway had they were going into the EU, and everyone thought Norway was going to join the EU, so it was no problem for me to work there or anything. But then Norway said no, we didn't want to join the EU, but I got a work permit before them, so that was okay.
Right, there you go. So how did you start to develop a kind of community and some sort of network at this stage? I'm just sort of curious how the early 70s would have been compared to something
it was,
like...
all through adverts in the Melody Maker.
Right, so it was the back page, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what was your...
loads of auditions and all that sort of stuff, but they were all hippies.
Were they? Yes. Did the kind of that period, I mean, you were 18 when the 70s appeared. Yeah. Did it feel quite interesting in the sense of like this massive, you had Brian Jones had died, who was in the Rolling Stones, then you had Hendrix, Morrison, Joplin all died, then it was kind of like the break of the Beatles. So the 70s suddenly, the 60s felt like it finished on a bit of a downer. You also had people like Charles Manson, and a lot of people had been sort of, LSD had not agreed with everybody. So how did you find that early 70s period then?
Oh, we were sick of it. We didn't like it at all. And I met Andrew Matheson through adverts in the Melody Maker, and we understood each other, and we started the Hollywood Brats.
Right.
Our motto was to annoy and disturb.
So this is, yes, Blimey O'Reilly, you were there doing it. And then did you sort of at that stage get much interest in any record labels?
No, not at all. They all hated us. But we had a good following. And,
yes. What's the relationship you have with Queen and Freddie Mercury at this stage?
No, it was only that we were playing in a club called Café des Artistes in Fulham on, I think, Wednesdays or something, and I don't remember their name, but they played Mondays.
Right.
And they were a cover band playing like Route 66 and all that sort of stuff, So we knew them. And then when we did one of our first gigs at the Marquee Club in 73, I think it was, then Freddie Mercury came backstage and said we had to change our name because we were called The Queen. And they changed their name to Queen. And they said we had to change our names. So we threw him out of the backstage, and it was a bit of a thing.
Right.
But we became friends after that, so it was okay.
Yes, well, that's all good. Then
we had already decided to change name to Hollywood Brats anyway.
Yes, well, there you go. It's always good to do that. So then what happens with the band as that progressed?
Well, we did a lot of gigs and toured quite a bit around England, and then nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. And we saw it in the New York, the New York Dolls were coming and gaining some success, and they even got a record contract. So we thought, as we got a no from all the British record labels, we tried to get into the States, but we couldn't. So we went to Montreal in Canada and tried to go in that way. but they hated us in Montreal as well, so we had to split up. And then we noticed that the Dolls had split up in New York as well, so we split up as well.
Yes, it's a shame because you would have sort of there was some, you know, there was quite a scene at that point, wasn't there? A bit of a teen flamboyant scene with, I mean, I'd mentioned glam rock, and then there was heavy rock, and there was kind of bands doing sort of 50s kind of stuff as well. So was there just no traction on the Hollywood Brats?
No, well, I mean, we released in Norway the album, and it sold 563 copies.
Right.
And, and that was it.
Did you ever have a manager at this stage?
Yeah, we had good management. I mean, we had Andrew Lugolden and Ken Muse.
Blimey, they had faith in you, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they loved us. And Keith Moon loved us. He said they was the best band in the world.
And there you go. But then can you remember much about your recordings and sort of what studios you used at this stage?
Oh, we used the best because we had, we had the Mafia as management.
Brilliant. Well, that's always handy. Who was your management? You said
I can't say really, but it was NM's Records and Worldwide Artists.
Right. It wasn't Morris Levy then.
No.
Was it a British manager?
Oh yeah.
Right. And they had great faith and sort of backings for you.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think they used us to whitewash money. I don't know. But we had we could use a lot of expenses. So we were in the Olympic studios and Regent studios, you know, and recorded the first album.
Yes. So with your, you know, I was just looking at the albums. You got a single out, Another School Day, and then there was another single, Then He Kissed Me, and stuff like that. But there was a compilation that came out on Mercury Records called Grown Up Wrong. Is that
was the Norwegian album?
Was that the what album?
The Norwegian one that was released in Norway.
Right,
and then sold 563 copies.
Right.
On the wrong album.
that was not going to make you see so much money at that point. Yes, my God. So then what then sort of happens with the band by the mid 70s?
Well, you know, like as everyone hated us and we never got a contract, we just had to split up. And Andrew, he went to Canada and played ice hockey. And I met Matt Engerfield from the Boys, who had a little studio in Maida Vale. So we started up the Boys.
Right. So that was your next point of call, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, that was in 1975, I think.
Yes. So then from there, who do you meet Matt Dangerfield?
How I met him?
Yes, how did you meet him?
Because he had a little 4-track studio that everyone went to. And we were a gang, you know, with Mick Jones and Tony James and Barry Jones and, you know, a lot of people.
Yes.
And we all ended up in different bands.
Well, I could imagine. And what was this? Well, absolutely. It was. Did you sort of have a sense that there was some sort of new musical kind of direction happening at this point?
Sort of, yeah. It was, but it was a small crowd. I mean, I think there were about 6 or 7 bands in London.
Yes.
I played like that, and the crowds weren't that big. You know, that happened very fast from 77.
Yes, because I remember interviewing Richard Strange from the Doctors of Madness, and he said that when they were performing in that kind of early 70s time, they were a few years too early for punk, but everybody in the audience were there about to form bands and became, you know, the Damned, the Sex Pistols, the Clash. Did you sort of go? Did you see the Doctors of Madness at this stage?
No. When we came home from Montreal, that's when, and we had split up. That's when the album came out in Norway.
Right.
And the import shops in London, they had that vinyl. So Mick Jones got that vinyl, and Tony James got that vinyl, and Matt got that vinyl, and they all loved the Hollywood Brats.
Right.
So it was only us and the New York Dolls and Iggy Pop, I suppose. And they played in the Roxy Club and the Punk Club as well. They only played those three albums.
Yes. My God. So then with the Hollywood Brats, how long did that band last for?
72 to 74.
Right.
Well, we started rehearsing in 71, but we didn't start. I think our first gig was in September 72.
Yes. And then obviously the Boys, which then sort of came along. So were you part of the first concert at the Hope and Anchor in London?
Yeah.
With the crowd of Mick Jones, Billy Idol, Tony James, and Gene October. Yeah. Right. So then you got signed. Was this to NEMS Records?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So was John Peel a fan of the band at this stage?
Oh, yeah. We did a few programs with John Peel.
Yes.
He was great. He loved it.
So then the first single was "I Don't Care."
Yeah.
Can you remember much about writing that? What was the process for the band at this stage?
Well, in those days we wrote 10 songs a day. Now I write 2 a year.
Yes.
So I mean, we just recorded all the time.
Right. Yes. And were you part of any sort of scene in London at this stage? Did you sort of hang out with members of Hawkwind or Lemmy from Motorhead?
That was later.
Was it?
Yeah.
Right.
We hang out with the Roxy Club. Started in I don't know, December 1976, I think.
Right. And so then you toured with John Cale?
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Great. I mean, he was a knockout. But the audience came to see us because we were a sort of new thing with punk rock,
Yes.
But John Cale was a knockout. Great guy. We had great fun.
Did you sort of find that the studio was able to recreate the sound that you needed during that time? Were they sympathetic or empathetic to the band?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it could have been done better, but even if it had been better, it may not have worked. Because I mean, it was good that it didn't sound that good. Like that.
Yes, well, absolutely. So you had The Boys. That was the first album, which was released in 77, which was yes, it featured Matt, Jack, yourself, and John on guitar. So when you went to sort of record the follow-up album, which was the following year, which is Alternative Chartbusters, had there been any lineup changes or any change in the band at this stage?
No, it was the same lineup.
And what was the sort of what was the writing process for the band? Was there any particular person who brought the material to the band, or did you sort of create it all together in some sort of recording?
No, it was Matt and I.
Right. Yes. Was that a kind of quite a tight friendship or working relationship?
Yeah, both. And,
did you also
later on? Honest John Plain started writing songs as well, and he wrote some great songs.
Yes.
That was from the second album. I think he had 1 or 2 tracks, and on the third one he had 2 or 3 tracks. So whatever it was,
Yes.
He became a very, very good songwriter in the end.
Yeah. And did you do any tours, in Europe or?
Oh yeah, 77. We toured all over.
Was that your sort of ideal lifestyle, sort of record tour?
No. We had the Ford van that we just drove around and, slept on top of speaker cabinets in the van, and we toured a lot. But I remember when we played Paris, the big posters around town said punk rock, and the little letters underneath it said the boys.
Right.
So I think we were the first English punk band to play Paris.
Yes. Did you get an instant audience?
Oh yeah. It happened so fast, that whole period. It wasn't a long period, It was about 1977, and that was it.
Yes. And did you have to get spat at?
I had to get what?
Spat at? Were people spitting at concerts at this stage?
Yeah, but that was a little bit later as well.
Well, thank God for that. There you go. And then did you support the Ramones as well when they came over?
That was in 79, 80.
Right.
End of the century tour.
Right, there we go. Did they still have their manager Danny Fields at that stage?
Yeah.
Did you meet Danny?
Yeah.
He's such a cool dude. He's such a cool dude. And yes, so you were still on that label with yes. So when you signed to Safari Records in 79 at this stage, what was Safari Records? Who ran that?
John Craig.
Right.
And, Edwards or something, the other guy. Yeah.
Yes. Did the band have management at this stage?
Yeah, still Ken Muse.
Right.
Mm.
The same people that you were managed before, or different manager?
Yeah.
Yes. Were they sort of protecting your interests at this stage?
No, but Ken Muse was a genius, and we loved him, and we had great fun all the time.
Ken.
He was Andrew Oldham's assistant with Immediate Records.
Right. There you go. Oh, Ken Muse. Is he still alive?
No.
Oh, no. Never mind, actually. Andrew Lloyd. What was Andrew like as a person?
He was... Yeah, I think he was good, great, but I met him later, and he's a complete maniac as well.
Yes.
But, no, he was good.
How were you navigating that kind of heady world of the 70s kind of rock and roll? You obviously had, the Sex Pistols were happening, people like Sid Vicious, then you had Johnny Thunders, people like that coming along. How was your band coping with those temptations?
Fine, because we were all in Matt's recording studio all the time doing demos, and everyone was hanging around together,
Right.
So, but are you talking about drug-wise?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that was nothing. We weren't interested because
good.
we were basically drunks.
Right. Yes. Well, it's one or the other, isn't it? Mostly,
And we didn't like hippie music, so
and you didn't. Yes.
It was easy for us not to get into that.
So what was, when you came to do your third album, and this was on Safari Records, To Hell with the Boys, what was the atmosphere like with the band at this stage?
Well, yeah, it was okay. We had, we had a lot of gigs, and it was okay. So we liked what we were doing as well. So, but
yes.
we did hope that we could break a little bit bigger.
Yes. And did you have any success, any singles from that album?
From the third album?
Yes.
Which was the third? To Hell with the Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't we? I can't remember which songs are on it.
Well, it's had To Hell with the Boys. It had things like, it starts with the To Hell. Oh, yes, there's the first side is To Hell and then Back. So you have Kamikaze, Lonely Cowboy, Waiting for the Lady, Bad Day, and Independent Girl on side two.
Yeah.
So, and how come you sort of split it into two particular themes?
Did we?
Yeah. Well, it seems to the side one seems to have To Hell, and then the one and Back. Was that just kind of just creative enjoyment?
No, To Hell with the Boys was because some of that album was recorded in a little town outside of Trondheim in Norway, in a studio there.
Right.
And that place was called Hell.
Oh, nice.
So that's it. So it was the place outside Trondheim is called Hell.
Yes.
So To Hell with the Boys.
And then, as we trundle up to that late 70s period, obviously, you know, most bands I find, especially in the world of, I don't know, alternative music, mostly have about a 5-year narrative. They have their honeymoon period. They get a single or two. John Peel plays them. They get a John Peel session sometimes. And then the first album, things are going well. Second album, kind of okay. Third, you know, it's getting kind of quite tiring, especially if people are feeling like dynamically the band is sort of struggling and financially there isn't much to be seen. Did you sort of feel that towards the end of the 70s it was quite a struggle?
It was a struggle, and but I'd met up with Gary Holton from the Heavy Metal Kids.
Yes.
Those days. So we went to Trondheim, me and him, and recorded an album there. And then I thought, you know, I had more belief in that than that the Boys were going to break. So I quit the Boys for a little while, and that album with Gary Holton went #1 in the charts, and it went platinum and big tours, and so I mean,
yes,
until Gary Holton died in October '85. Then split up, of course, and and internet came in the end of the '80s. So Japan wanted us to do a tour in Japan.
Right.
And we didn't know anything about the internet or anything. We didn't know how the hell they even knew who we were. But it turned out they sold 80,000 albums in 1989.
Blimey.
No, I didn't 89. No, it must. No, 99.
Right.
1999. And that's when we regrouped and started again, because our Japanese tour, and it was a great success. So then we toured since then again.
Yes, well, absolutely. But with you and Gary, you did these 4 albums on Polydor, didn't you?
Yeah.
God, that all went so well, actually. Yeah. God, your sort of musical career at this stage is just absolutely flying, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and at the same time, I also did a country trio, because I started to get really into outlaw country.
Right.
Like Waylon and Willie and all that sort of stuff. And Graham Parsons started all that for me.
Yes, Americana at that stage.
And then that went really well as well. And we won a Grammy for it, and went to the States and recorded, and we played there. And so, yeah, so I was busy all the time, really.
Yes, well, absolutely. So you did a collaboration. This was like the mid-'80s with Claudia Scott.
Yeah.
And that was it. The trio really, and you released 3 albums at this stage.
Yeah.
Roots and country music. Was this your Jerry Lee kind of influence?
Well, no, because Jerry Lee, you know, he was rock and roll, Mr. Rock and Roll. He was 100% rock and roll. He was the only artist I've ever met in my life who was rock and roll.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, country music, it was more or less that me and Gary, we went and we met those people when we were in the States. We met Waylon Jennings, and we met Willie Nelson and all of them. And we were so impressed, because, you know, they could have eaten Sid Vicious for breakfast, you know.
Well, I would imagine, actually. He probably looked a bit, yes. he wasn't the real deal, was he? When you met the heavyweights. But I love that song. What would what's it called? Oh, I remember Morrissey covered it recently. What would Waylon do? Oh God, I can't remember the song, but it was a bit of a. I mean, there was some amazing stuff that came out during that period, and Johnny Cash as well, which was quite good. Did that sort of feel like that was the music that you know was really true to your soul?
Yeah, we toured with Johnny Cash, and we toured with Merle Haggard, and we toured with Chris Christopherson. And so I mean, we got to know them all. And Waylon, we toured with him, and George Jones.
George Jones, my God, you had the whole lot actually. So you were touring America at this stage?
Yeah, and Scandinavia.
Scandinavia, blimey! You must have thought this is a. So did you at this stage? Were you manager free from everybody at this point, or did you have a manager?
We had different managers for the type of music we were playing. You know, like the country thing was a country manager, and the rock was a rock manager, because they needed to understand what we were doing.
Yes,
what we were doing, you know. So there were different people.
How did you meet Claudia at this stage? Had you met her? Because
her dad was a country singer.
Right.
And we wanted a female singer, you know, and she was available. So
you said
came quite naturally, and we knew about her because she had recorded albums before us.
Yes. There you go. And then did you meet
Carlene Carter?
Carlene Carter. What was she like? Did you go in the studio with her?
Yeah, we recorded an album, CCCP.
Right. Mm. Blimey. There you go. Who was the producer on that album?
Bjorn Nesher.
God, I remember another producer, Mark. I think Mark Saunders produced an album with her actually, and said she was quite a tough cookie. Mm. Was she quite tough?
Oh yeah. No, it's more or less because of her that we got to meet Johnny Cash, you know.
Right. I mean, the line that he used from what he said at what she had said to him was, she put the cunt into country, and I thought, blimey, I hadn't heard that one before. But she was quite tough, and I think he was quite intimidated by her actually. So you didn't mess with her, put it that way.
Oh, she was a rock and roller as well. Definitely.
So did that kind of project sort of take you up into the 90s?
Until the 90s, yeah. Then I recorded an album with Mick Ronson.
Dear old Mick from the Spiders from Mars.
Yeah.
God, what was that? What was that album called?
Casino Steel and Mick Ronson. Casino Steel featuring Mick Ronson, I think it was called.
Right. God, was that... I can't see where that one fits into your... yes. God, your Discogs is a tricky one. Mick Ronson. So how did you kind of get an invite to work with Mick at this stage?
Because we did a TV show together in Sweden.
Right.
And I started talking about music and all that. And I asked him, you want to come to Norway and guest on my album or play with me? And he said, yes, sure.
My God.
He was such a nice guy.
I would imagine it would have been amazing. But was he slightly sort of poorly at that stage? Was he...
quite quickly, because, I mean, we finished that album and we had set up a whole tour in Scandinavia. And I think the week before we were starting the tour, he called me and said that he had to meet me because he had something to tell me. So, and then we met up, and he said, "I'm sorry, I've got cancer, so he can't tour. He apologized for having cancer. He felt sorry for me. He couldn't go on tour. I mean, you know,
Yes,
he was such a fucking great guy.
I would imagine, yeah, because I think he just had done that album with Morrissey, your Arsenal, as well, and I think he was quite poor at that stage, actually. Did he feature on the whole album, by the way?
No, I think it was about was it 10 tracks on that album? He was on 4 or 5, I think.
Right, and this was on Revolution Records, which is a Norwegian label.
That's my label.
That is, my God, you. When did you start your label?
When no one else wanted it.
Yes. How did you manage to fund such a big album?
Yeah, I mean, when in the old days, when you sold vinyl and CDs, there was money in it if you managed to sell enough.
Yes.
Like with the streaming and all that, there's no money. So
yeah, well,
in those
I know.
days, it was easier.
It was, you had a bit of ready cash, actually. So then as the 90s progressed on, what's your next kind of musical journey?
Well, it was through Mick I met Ian Hunter. So I did the Ian Hunter's Dirty Laundry album
Right.
in Abbey Road.
Blimey, you do get around, don't you? So was this an Ian Hunter album that you were guesting on?
No, no, we were all together, all of us. John was on it, and Daryl Bath was on it, and Glenn Matlock was on it, and, you know, Vom from Tottenham.
And this was the album Dirty Laundry, did you say?
Yeah, Ian Hunter's Dirty Laundry.
Yes, Blimey O'Reilly. This was on Cherry Red Records as well, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so, actually. Yes. So was this the first time that Ian Hunter was back in the studio after Mick Ronson had passed away?
Yeah.
Right, my God. That was quite a lineup. And you had, Blue Weaver, who was in the Strawbs. He was also on it as well. Yes. God. So how did you then, who sort of came up with the general idea and theme for this?
Oh, that was mine. Yeah. I organised it all.
Bloody hell. That is incredible. That is and when you did this album, did you manage to do any tours with Ian at this stage?
No. Never.
Never. There you go. How long were you in
We had the same producer that I used to have with Gary Holton and Christian Steele, Bjorn Nesje.
Right.
So and I had a manager called Barry Matheson.
Barry Matheson.
Yeah, he was very, very good.
Yes, blimey. Did it do quite well, sales-wise?
No. It didn't. And it's strange that, because it's a very, very good album.
Yes, well, yes, I guess you just have to roll with these things. So that was the mid-90s. How do you then navigate your next period? Into the O years.
Well, then the boys got to tour Japan.
Right. This was it.
That was an internet broke. So internet changed everything, you know.
Japan. Were you kind of because I know there's a few British bands who were quite tiny in the UK and then sort of found that they were superstars in Japan for some unbelievable reason. And so did you have the same kind of experience?
Well, we didn't know that we were known in Japan, you know, and they approached us and said, do you want to reform and come to Japan for a tour? And I said, yeah, sure.
Yes.
But we didn't know that we'd sold 80,000 vinyls there through internet.
Yes.
Musical stuff, you know?
Well, absolutely serious. So was this, because I know a few people who've like gone, oh yeah, we're really big in the Philippines. The problem is everything's bootlegged, so we don't actually make any money. Were you able to sort of make a little bit of money from...
Yeah.
There you go. God, that was it. And what was it like with the boys again?
Oh, it was great. We loved it.
Well, I'm
And
not surprised.
one Michelle Gun Elephant or whatever, some Japanese band. They were number one in the charts with one of our songs.
That must have been
I don't know
quite
which
nice.
song it was.
Yes.
But so we became popular quite rapidly.
Yes, well, absolutely. I sort of notice with some bands that they have their moment, and then after that, they're completely forgotten. And then a few decades later, people kind of appreciate them a bit more, and then suddenly they get back together, possibly do a new album. And did you go back in the studio and record? You got a new album, which was was it 2014? Punk rock menopause,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Was
Excellent.
it that late?
2014. Yes.
Huh? Well,
Blimey.
we did Lost Rock and Roll Band as well, with me and Bom and Honest John.
Yes. My God. So is the band, and you're still going, aren't you?
Yeah,
My God.
they
But
got a new
Paul,
album coming out.
when's that?
Now we finished mixing 2, but we had 14 songs.
Right.
2 are not finished.
Yes. So that was taking us up to the last from the O years. Then what? Yeah. So how do you navigate the O years? I don't know what you call them, the noughties, I suppose.
What's that?
I said, how did you then, from the 90s, what was the general sort of musical trend, or was it mostly you with the boys, or did you have any other musical projects on at this stage?
Well, we toured a lot. We always toured a lot. You know, and I got different things to tour with. You know, with the I also did some solo albums. I got 2 or 3 bands in Norway I play with, and yeah.
Yes, well, absolutely. This is all very exciting. So Paul Odders, so yes, so Honest John died actually really.
Yeah, terrible.
Yes, that was very recent actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Andrew Matheson as well.
Yeah. So how do you sort of keep that kind of the longevity of the band? Is that quite hard work?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's probably a bit of an understatement, really, isn't it, as well? Did you then sort of keep your record label going as well at this stage?
Yeah, I still got it.
My God, you do manage to juggle a lot of things, don't you?
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
I mean, now we don't release vinyl anymore, you know.
Is it
We
all on?
always get licenses to other labels to do vinyls.
Right.
So we only do the Spotify and that's digital stuff.
Yes.
And all, you know. So that's not that much work.
No, I guess not, actually. You must be able to sort of navigate that quite easily with all the experience that you've had.
Yeah, what we lack is the marketing, because we we don't understand how the marketing works, you know, so we don't do anything. We just release them.
Yes. I guess you must have a sort of quite an audience that follow you religiously, and
Yes, thank God. Yes, yeah, fantastic loyal fans.
Yes, well, that's quite. So, when did you write and record the new album?
Day before we went into the studio.
Right. Yes. Well, it's always good to do. And who features on the album?
Who's what?
Who's in the band for that particular the new album coming out?
Chips Kisby from Sater, and Kent Norberg from Sater, Martin Hansen from the Backstreet Girls, and me and Matt.
Right. There you go. So when can we expect it to sort of happen, come out to actually sort of be released?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We'll probably release some singles first on the net,
Yes.
and then the vinyl when it's finished.
Yes. And I was just kind of curious. So when you look back at your, history of releases, what particular album are you proudest of?
I'm proud of all of them, but it's always the first album in each concept that is the most, the most closer to my heart.
Right. Yes. Yes. And is there any that particularly has sentimental values?
Yeah. I mean, the first Brats album, the first Boys album, the first solo album of mine, and first Halt and Steel album.
Yes. Well, I could imagine. Do you ever sort of look at your life and sort of feel how well you've managed to navigate it all and still sort of, yes, cope with all the ups and downs? Because obviously over the decades, you must have thought, blimey, people are dropping off at quite a rate at this point.
Yeah. No, I just find it very, very strange because, I mean, I'm healthy. I never I never do anything to be healthy. I don't eat fruit. I don't eat greens. I don't train. I don't do anything. I drink a lot. I smoke.
Yes, but generally, you just
I'm doing all right.
you've done very well actually at 73. And do you have any live dates coming up as well?
Live dates?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm touring all summer in Norway.
Blimey.
And then we got Portugal with the boys in August, Italy in September, and France in October.
And there you go. Do you ever come to the UK?
Yeah, every year we do at least. We usually do a week after, or the first week of January. We've done that for God knows how many years.
Yes.
But I know we have 2 dates in England next year. We have a Rebellion next year.
Oh, is that 2016, 2026?
Yeah, 26. Yeah.
Right. Have you ever played there before?
Oh yeah, played there many times.
And always gone down well?
Yeah.
That's always exciting, actually. So what's the secret then of your long and amazing career?
Is there a secret? I don't know. I think in my case, it's that you can't be angry all the time. You got to laugh.
Yes. What's the kind of, you've had some highs. What was the kind of the lowest part of your kind of career?
Oh, people dying around me. A lot of my friends and musicians and all that. And I have a divorce and things like that. So, just, shit happens.
Yes, well, absolutely. It's never good. And just as a sort of an idea, what's the name or what have you called the new album?
No, I haven't got a name yet.
Right. There you go. But it's going to be out soon. And do you have it all on, is it, apart from streaming, do you also have it on Bandcamp as well?
I have no idea. I don't know. I think our manager fixes all those.
Oh, have you got a new, is this a manager that you go back a long way with or just a little way?
Yeah, no, we go back a long way.
Blimey. But not the mafia.
No. Steve Metcalf is a gentleman.
Fantastic.
And
there you go.
So we're very happy with the management at the moment.
Yes, well, that's always good. And did you navigate that world of kind of publishing and ownership of music relatively well? Was that just a complete mystery as well?
No, I understood that the business in the 90s, because before then, we were ripped off by everyone all the time.
Yes.
But, experience gives you some different views on things. And now I own nearly all my stuff. From next year on, I own everything.
Yes. So
but it's taken a long time, and unfortunately, I own it when it doesn't sell.
I know, it's always the way, isn't it, really? There you go. But there's a lot of music to discover, actually, isn't there? Well, your solo career is quite prolific, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think I've recorded over 70 albums.
Yes. And is it always under your name, or do you have variations?
No, it's always under my name.
Yes, well, absolutely. This is quite extraordinary, actually. Do you have a studio at home, or do you go elsewhere?
I go elsewhere.
How come you could be so prolific, though? I mean, what's the secret with your sort of ability to write, record, release music so quickly?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I don't like to do anything. And I don't record that much because, it's not like it was in the others. I prefer sitting in a pub watching football.
Right. Well, there you go. And do you support Norway?
I suppose I have to, yeah.
Yes. Well, no, it's always nice to sort of follow a team of some description, but there you go. But look, thank you ever so much for your time. This has been fantastic. I've got, quite a bit there. I hope that was all right. But yes, well, good luck. And I'm very intrigued with some of these kind of other little kind of releases that sneak through, actually, especially the Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson ones. So I will give them a spin. I guess, are they all there on Spotify and various other?
Yeah.
They're all there. But anyway, look, thank you ever so much for your time. And if you want, I can always send you the link, and you can always
do that. Yeah,
I will.
Thanks.
That'll be good. But anyway, look, have a great summer and enjoy your touring.
Same to you. Nice meeting you.
Take care there. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that is the end of the interview. A massive thank you to Kaz for giving me the time for that. This has been the C86 show. David Eastaugh. If you want to contact me, you can on any of the social media platform sites. Just do C86 show. All these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. Check them out. Lots of indie pop. Anyway, have a great week. Stay safe.